So I've owned and used the Hasselblad X1D Mark II for about 7 months now. I got it in the summer of 2023. It is now March 2024. So about 7-8 months, yeah. I remember doing the switch from the X-H2S, which camera I still love to this day. Great for video, great photos, really amazing work camera. But then, since this was my dream camera, I remember back in 2019, I was still shooting with like a Sony A5000. I was doing a lot of work with it, despite, you know, being a cheap camera. But then I remember going to the B&H, and this just came out, so I would just go upstairs to the second floor where you can like test out cameras. They would just bring this. I was like, "Can I get the X1D Mark II?" And then they would just give me a random lens, and all I wanted to do was just hold the camera like this in my hand, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is such a comfortable design, and the design is so beautiful." You know, there's cameras that you use for work, there's cameras that you use for the sake of it, for fun, you know, for luxury. And for me, it has been a little bit of both. 7 months later, I still end up at home just like looking at the camera for no reason at all, or just like shooting random things at home and just like hearing the leaf shutter of like, let me show it to you how it sounds. It's so quiet and very amazing that sometimes in the shoots with models, they would be like, "Wait, did you take a photo yet?" Or I was like, "Oh, you got one of the quiet cameras." And it's really a testament to the leaf shutter system that the Hasselblad has used, even with their Hasselblad 500 cm cameras, that they have the leaf shutter, where that means they have the shutter in the lens instead of it on the camera like most SLRs do. So why did I switch from an X-H2S camera, which is a complete opposite of the Hasselblad X1D Mark II? The X-H2S was so fast. It's got up to 40 frames per second electronic burst shutter. The colors are amazing. It's Fujifilm. They know their colors. They're Velvias. I like using Velvia, Reala, Acros, and all that. The video is amazing. It's got 6.2K 30 and all that. I really like holding that camera as well. It is such a fun work camera, whereas this is, I think I've never used a continuous shutter, but I think it's like 2 frames or 1.5 frames per second, which is such a complete difference. To me, I'm actually happy. I'm happy with the switch that I made. Granted, before this, I was also shooting film, medium format and 35 before switching to this. So shooting film has kind of made me shoot a little slower. So you tend to get picky and tend to look around your surroundings more with film, because you try not to waste a single frame, because it's kind of expensive to get stuff developed. So when I made the switch to this digital Hasselblad as well, it hasn't really changed my workflow in terms of you know. I am able to get a lot more digital, but with more, it also tends to make my workflow a little slower. I do get to shoot a lot more, but 9 times out of 10, I would usually just get maybe 10 to 15 photos out of like 300, 500 photos sometimes, you know, and you end up spending a lot of time trying to pick, not that one, not that one. Yeah, maybe, you know, you spend like a lot of minutes doing that. But with this, I usually shoot around 50 and then end up picking around 10, 15, something like that. What's also amazing is the Hasselblad natural color solution. With other cameras, they tend to offer you a lot of color profile solutions on the camera itself. You know, you get like a black and white simulation or like Fuji's Provia, blah, blah, blah. But for the Hasselblad, they only offer one color profile, which is the Hasselblad natural color solution. I really love the colors that I get with the Hasselblad. I don't know how they do it. I'm not technically as advanced thinking to explain you what that solution is, but whenever you take a shot, it just like balances the colors. And since it's a medium format sensor, it has more dynamic range, so there's more variation in the colors. Like there's more, you know, there's like 50 shades of gray basically, instead of like maybe like 35 on, you know, like an APS-C camera or a full frame. Just an example. To really get a hold of the Hasselblad raw files, you gotta get focus. I remember my first experience with focus was I didn't really like the software. It felt so clunky, it felt so slow. I do still feel that in a way 6 months later that I've used focus, but I've been able to really adjust to it. I've used and owned about 3 of the lenses, the 30 and the 45p. But right now I have here with me is the Hasselblad 55V. It's such a solid lens. It's one of the newer ones that Hasselblad recently came out with, the 38, 55, 90, now the 28. And what I really love about is using the software. It's one of the simplest and easiest softwares to read and use. It's basically like a smartphone layout. You really don't have to mess with it around, and it's touchscreen, which can sometimes be useful indoors, but it can be a pain. Right now I'm in Iceland. I am shooting, you know, sometimes in the dark. I have to wear gloves, and good thing I can use the gloves with the camera. You know, it's kind of hard to shoot with gloves with this sometimes. That's the only downside for me, at least, but I work around with it. Yeah, there's also cameras that have a lot of like customizable buttons, and this has just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 11 buttons. You can customize some of them. So it's not a lot compared to other cameras these days. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, the feeling you get when shooting with this camera it's amazing. So yeah, this is a long-term review of the Hasselblad X1D Mark II. I hope you like it, and you can follow me on Instagram to check out all my photos. I also have a website, so, you know, self-plug. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.